former trainer of the year, Virgil Hunter, and I really enjoyed listening to John, Charles, and Frank on Real Boxing Talk.
Okay, welcome again to the Ultimate Sports Network. This is Real Boxing Talk. We are talking about real boxing. We have a couple of things we really want to get out of the way here. Well, I don't know if we'll get it out of the way, but let's see how things are set up because of what happened last weekend. Benavides, Lemieux. John, you're cooking? Cook with it.
Yeah, Benavides did his thing, and he just demolished Lemieux. I didn't watch it live. I was busy, but I watched it later, what I could see, and we were all right, what we said pretty much, and you were the closest, Frank, so congratulations.
I just jumped the line. I didn't really come up with anything fantastic.
The mouth roared that got one right, huh, Charles? So close, at least.
I just played the Price is Right game. I just went, okay, let's just so.
Benavides, to me, I read somebody that's pretty well-known boxing writer said that he isn't convinced that he's the real deal. See, I think if he's not, he's close. I mean, he was throwing those combinations on Lemieux, and Lemieux didn't have a chance. Now, you always have to qualify. Lemieux is past it. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Lemieux has been in some hard fights. But he did crack Benavides with a punch in the first round. No response for Benavides. You just looked at him. Good sign. You always wonder about a guy's chin, right? But he throws some wicked combinations, and you can't help but imagine Benavides against Canelo, because Benavides is a tall guy like Bivol. He's got reach, and he punches a lot. Now, is his defensive solid? No, but he's the kind of guy that would give Canelo a lot of problems just because of his skill set. So big win. He said he wanted to impress. Yep, he did it. And they're so disgusted with Canelo. It was kind of a crack up. And then we have Canelo news too, a couple of days that came down yesterday, I think. Yeah, big shocker there, huh? But it was good for Benavides. I think he's legit. I think he's the number one contender. And he's next. I got this from an inside person. He's next going to fight Andre because I want that. I must stop. I was
like, breaking news.
Yeah, no, I don't know who he's going to fight next, but he's right there, and I think he's pretty real. Yeah, he's a live dog, no doubt about it.
Charles, what did you see from this, other than just the BS that we've been talking about? What did you see legitimately from Benavides?
Well, I saw the determination, right? I mean, he always talks about what he wants to do. He wants the big fight. He wants to be considered a legitimate threat, right? He wants the respect. In order to get the respect, you have to be impressive, and he was. And I think now he's starting to get it. I don't know what happened before. Prior, he had the belt twice. He lost it because he tested positive for cocaine. And then the other part is he had weight, not able to make weight. So those are two strikes. You can be mad at whoever you want to. That's on him, and that's why I don't think a lot of people are really feeling sorry for him, because you've been the champion twice, and you let it go. So that's why I don't think a lot of people are like, how many damn times do you get, bro? But I mean, I understand his contention of wanting to be respected because he is good. So that's what I saw. We mentioned earlier about Lemieux. Lemieux was past his time, and he needed to handle Lemieux, and he did it in a convincing fashion. So now it's like, I handle my business. Now what's next? I'll say very quickly, John was joking, but I mean, I was going to literally say it before, but I think that's the fight. Andre versus Benavides. Straight up. Seriously. Right. I mean, you got two dudes that are like, guys are like saying they don't get no respect. Let's fight. Let's fight. Andre's had that title since what, 2018? Middleweight title? Yeah.
At least, yeah.
And I went to Boxing Rec and checked it out, and I saw some names. I was like, hell, he had a better amateur impressive resume than he did in the pros. So I fought everybody in the amateurs and beat a lot of guys too.
Right.
So I think if I can't get, he's gonna be one of those guys, I can't get to a major fight, and we know who all those names are, then I'm like, let's fight.
And real quick, Frank, he didn't even mention my guy, Demetrius. He mentioned Caleb Plant. That's who he seems to want more than anything else. Andre is not even in the picture. As usual, he's outside of everything.
Yeah. But what's Caleb? But realistically, I mean, just my opinion. What is Caleb Plant? Seriously, I'm not saying that he's not good, but we know what Canelo did to him. See, that's my problem with that. And
Yeah,
he's in the ring. I'm not. I'm a novice. I'm a glorified wannabe matchmaker. But if you want to make some noise, you want to get people attention. You want the crowd to come and go start cheering for you so you can get a real shot. Take the Andre fight, man. Let's quit BSing. You really want to be taken seriously? Let's make this happen.
Okay, but let's look at this another way. And I could be wrong, so you guys correct me on this. I'm looking at it this way. Who is Andre trying to fight? I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he is, but is he saying, I should be next in line for this? I should be next in line for that. This is the guy. Is he out there actually saying, I want these fights? Because obviously he's not getting them. So is he actually, and his promotion team, are they actually actively looking for these fights? I don't, not in my ear, I'm not hearing it. John?
well, Eddie Hearn said something that really kind of shook me up. He said he can't land the big fights for Andre.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what is Andre? Does he smell? I mean, what's the problem? Why can't Eddie Hearn lands big fights for everybody?
All the time, right?
Why can't, does it mean that Andre's team is too demanding, that they want everything their way? Did he fall on his face when he called out Canelo, as we said? Yes. But that doesn't mean he should be banished from whatever. And he's gone very quiet since the whole Canelo thing. I don't even know who's promoting him anymore. We know he's in Canada. I don't know what's going on. It's like his career just stopped.
Well, it's like what Charles said. It's been 2018 since he's had the belt, and he hasn't fought anyone that we of any note. And it doesn't look like he's going to. It doesn't look like. See, this is the thing that I think is weird. If you're looking at it from, as Charles said, from a novice point of view, you would think people are avoiding him. I don't know that he's not avoiding in the same way.
Right, we don't know.
Yeah, so that's where we're stuck. Because at this point, you would have thought they at least would have had said, okay, he's got a belt, I got a belt. Benavides is blah, blah, blah. He even could have fought Lemieux. I mean, somebody, but
I got the feeling that perhaps a few months ago he was trying to land the Canelo fight and he didn't want to risk anything else. So he put it all in to land the Canelo fight. And that, so he wouldn't fight anybody else because it was possibility something could happen. So he was trying to hit the lotto, trying to hit bingo, whatever you want to say. Now he's stuck. Now he has to fight. He has to defend his title or he's going to get stripped. And he should defend it against a good fighter, a fighter like a Charlo or somebody like that would be a fight that would be a good fight. He can fight. I think he's good. I've seen him a few times, but he's kind of turned into a joke. The whole Canelo thing has turned him into a joke, but he could fix that if he really wants to.
But if he has to fight a mandatory, now again, correct me if I'm wrong, the mandatory is not going to be another belt holder.
Right. It won't
so
be.
that's another fight, another few months, another thing that's going to be against someone that we're going to go, this guy from
who's that?
Morocco or something is fighting, and then we're another 6 months down the road. Yeah. So let's make the fight before we get it to the mandatory, and let's figure it out. Again, we got 2, 3, 4 guys are ready to go, and I don't know. Charles, explain to me where we're at here as far as how this stacks up. Because let's look at, you mentioned Benavides. How much longer can Benavides make this wait?
Yeah, that's a good question. There might be a while, but that's why I'm like, to the point of Andre, like you said, that's why when I looked that up, I wanted to go through and give you the just due as far as God, you give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm like, you had that, before that, you were like a super welterweight. 2018, you come up, you get that belt. You've been moving forward ever since. We're talking about almost 4 years, bro. 4 years of being that middleweight champion. And it's like, if they don't come to you, you got to go to them. I mean, Andre, you're a champion. And sometimes I believe that the fighter has to step up and say, this is what I want. You're seeing, we can talk about this later on about Tank Davis. Tank Davis is stepping out, mention some names that normally Floyd would say, nah, Floyd Mayweather would be like, nah, it's too quick for that. But if I'm Andre and I really want this fight, I'm saying, look, Benavides just won. He's impressive. He's at 168. Even if they don't fight at 168, he said, that's too big for me. You want to fight at a catch weight, even if that means you don't put it on the line. Make the fight. Because if you beat Benavides, right, then you do move up. Then you do get recognition. Because You don't have the 2 strikes against you. His problem is he either has bad promotions or something's going on. He's not getting the respect he deserves. And the one way that you capitalize, the one way that you eliminate doubt and you gain respect is you start taking chances and fighting so-called people that people respect and think are good enough on that next level. And right now, Benavides is one of those guys. So I'd be screaming his name. Last but not least, Canelo, yeah, I get that. I mean, he went swung for the fences, came up short. They laughed you out the arena. Okay, now what? So let's drop back a few pegs. Let's go after somebody else and let's take him down. But if that's what you want to do, because otherwise you're gonna be turning around, looking in the mirror, and you're gonna be an old dude talking about you still want Canelo.
Well, we're getting to the point where they're going to have to set up their own elimination tournament. It's like, okay, Canelo is the guy we're trying to get to. And he kept saying, you haven't done this, you haven't done this. It's like, fine, let's fight each other. Let's get it on. Let's figure it out, whether it's Charlo, Benavides, whether it's Andre, whether it's this, Caleb Plant, whoever. Let's put it together. And then he has no choice but to fight us, unless he wants to go after Triple G for the 18th time. So there's what I see, John.
Yeah, no, that would be a great idea. And, it ties into Andre's career because he's 34 years old. He's not getting any younger here. And,
right.
And I think that's why he was going after Canelo so strongly, is he figured, look, I got to do this now. And whatever was going on with my management, it ain't happening. And it looked like it was going to for a while. He was going to fight Billy Joe Saunders, if you guys remember that,
right,
a few years ago. And that wasn't his fault. Billy Joe tested positive for gosh knows what, and that fight fell through. That wasn't Andre's fault. And yeah, a super middleweight tournament like they had when, that guy from Oakland came out of nowhere would be wonderful, but it's not going to happen, Frank. I mean,
no, I don't mean an official tournament. They're going to have to just say, we are going to do this. And then whoever comes out of this unscathed gets Canelo. That's
well,
what they're going to
see, I was thinking Benavides, people might be like, but he is a champion, Andre. So you would, sure. He's a WBO super middleweight champion. So you get that belt. And Canelo's always talking about, you don't have a belt. You don't have a belt. Well, he would have a belt if he beat sure. Andre, but they might be thinking it might be too risky. Because as we know, Andre can fight. I mean, it's some of it's very calculated. That's why you get so frustrating being a boxing fan. It shouldn't be. You should say, okay, this guy's rated 2, I'm rated 3. Let's fight. But then, right, and then Charles said the management gets, let's not fight him. He's too risky right now. It could mess up what we're going to do in the future. But Andre's looking at, he's got to do something now. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. He's got to get going. He's got to do something and find somebody that can land him a fight. Gosh.
Well, okay. Well, look, yeah, go ahead, Charles.
No, I was gonna raise my hand. I said I can land you that fight, bro. Call me.
Charles Farber Promotions. We do it.
we get things done.
CFP.
another acronym that I don't know what it
stands
for. All right, but okay, but let's look at this from the perspective of what it is in your career. What is it you want to achieve in your career? So the first thing you want to do is you want to win your first fight, obviously. And then from there you move on and on and on. Hopefully you stay undefeated, if not, well, but you get a chance to fight for the belt, not the interim regular silver belt, but the actual belt. So you had a chance to fight for the belt and you get that. All right, so now you're the champion. Now, do you either stay at that weight or move up? If you stay at that weight, then what do you want to do? You want to get the other belt, and then you want to unify. Is that my correct way of looking at this, or am I looking at it all wrong? Once I got the strap, I'm done. Because that's what I'm seeing here. We're talking, Andre's had that belt for 4 years. He hasn't moved off of that. He's not tried to add anything else. And he said, well, I want Canelo. Okay, well, that would have added something, but other people out there have the belts too. I want his, I want mine, I want them all. That to me is the selfish way of looking at it from a competition standpoint. This is what I want. There are 4 belts, I want all 4 of them. If I can't get all 4 of them, I at least want to force the other guy to make a decision on why he doesn't want to fight. That's not what we're seeing here. So that's the part that confuses me. And then we'll go to the next bit of news to make the nice segue of that same division. Now we have, well, let's see. I stepped up and I lost to Bivol, and I guess, I know. Let's fight Triple G again. Anyone, just weigh in on that one, because I don't even know if there's a question to that.
Well, I'll say this about Andre. I mean, Canelo is the unified champion. So to win all the belts, he had to fight him. So he was trying to get all the belts. He did make an effort. He just fell on his face. And it's one of those strange mysteries. He's the WBO champion, just like Terrence Crawford. Maybe you don't want to be a WBO champion, WB out. I mean, that's what WBO stands for. It seems like it doesn't get the same respect as the WBA. I get no respect in my view with all their interims and regular. And I had fun in an article I just wrote about that. It's ridiculous. WBC, that's legendary. That's Muhammad Ali stuff we're talking about. I don't know that. No surprise in a sense that no surprise at all that Canelo is going to fight Triple G. It's very calculated. He says he's going to fight Triple G and he's going to go after Bivol again after that. That's what he said. He can beat up on the 40-year-old Golovkin. Now, what is interesting, and we should discuss this for a second, at least a few seconds, is there's a number of people on the social media who now think because Canelo lost, you know how like we love to talk about what you do in your last fight. Sometimes we give that too much focus. They're saying that Golovkin's going to win. I'm serious. And it's like, did you not see his last fight where he struggled and he knows what he needs to do, Golovkin, because he did it. I think he won one of those fights. I think he's won and one win and a draw or whatever, right? Or whatever you want to say, but it doesn't matter. He's officially lost once and drew the other time. So he knows what to do. It's just that he's slowed down. He's already never was very fast anyway. He's just slower now than he was before. But for Golovkin, as far as what he's built, this is good because he'll make a boatload of money and then he can just swim away with all that money, right? At 40 years old. But Canelo you know what Canelo's doing. Canelo wants to wipe the slate clean of the Bivol fight. He wants to knock out Golovkin and then say, okay, I'm ready for Bivol again. So it's very calculated on his part. No surprise. He said he had signed a contract, so he's going to go through with it. So it's going to be September in Frank's backyard there. So here we go.
Well, Charles, it seems like it was a foregone conclusion was going to happen, but should we care?
I mean, you care because it's Canelo, and that's what they've been pushing out, that he's the greatest thing right now going. So he took a step up. He swung, he missed. He actually went against a guy that actually could fight. And really understood. He had great strategy against the way that he likes to fight. He fought light heavyweights in the past. And this guy had a number. He had a great strategy, and he beat him. So it's like, okay, no shame. And he came out pretty much, he wasn't hurt or anything like that. He came out, his pride, the ego was hurt. But again, remember, I warned you guys before. I said, he lose a fight, the public and the media is going to start saying Canelo looked a little rusty. Canelo wasn't, and that's what he wants. He wants you to think that he's not ready or he maybe lost a step. He wants you to do that. Then he'll come back down to 168. He's going to connect with Triple G. And like you said, 40 years old or plus, and he's going to try to beat the hell out of him. And then he's going to go back up to Bivol because now I know if you're not ready this time, I'm going to change my game up and I'm going to do that. And then you're going to say how great I am. And then I'm going to maybe go back down to 168 and go, now I want them real fights y'all talking about. So I want that Charlo. I want this and that. Because now he's at a point where he's probably looking at in his career saying, how much longer do I want to do this? And whatever I'm doing now, I'm really going for some real money. And I think that's where he's at right now. So he's like saying, for instance, if I go and I fight, if Benavides is around, I'll fight a Charlo or then a Benavides and Charlo. And then somewhere down the line, let's say as I'm thinking about it, Errol Spence Jr. comes up and say he wants some. These are really mega fights because those three names, or at least the two names of Charlo and Charlo and also with Errol Spence Jr. Now you're talking about boatloads, cash, money, pay-per-view, out the box, must-see TV, and then you can go, do I even want to do this anymore? Because now you have established that legacy that you've been talking about as one of the greatest, if not the greatest Mexican fighter ever, because now later in your career, you're taking on them fights. And I think that's how I see it for him. I don't think he feels like he has to fight anymore. He does, and he's still young enough, but I'm only going to kind of fight unless it makes sense and makes dollars, then it makes sense.
As long as there are contracts out there that are weighted in his favor, I think he's going to go for it. But and this is what we were saying about Tyson Fury last week. When we get to the point where it doesn't make any sense anymore, it doesn't make any sense. If the fights aren't attractive to you as a fighter, you're not going to fight anymore. I think that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong about that. We all know guys that have fought because that's all they knew how to do, whether they were getting a belt or whether they're getting paid. They didn't know anything else to do, so they kept fighting, or guys that retired and kept coming back, like the Sugar Ray Leonard, who had no reason to really have to come back, but kept coming back and or Roy Jones Jr. It's like that. Why go play basketball in this style? But he had to keep coming back, or a lights out Tony. I want to keep going because I can still do it. At least that's in my mind. I can. Let's keep after it. So I don't know. It's an interesting prospect for what could happen and what should happen. I don't know. It's just a hard way to look at it. Okay.
I just want to say something real fast. I think Canelo loves it. I do. I think he loves boxing. I think it's his passion. He's been doing it since he was 15 as a pro. I think he does. I think Charles is spot on. He wants all the big money fights. It makes perfect sense. But I don't think he's thinking retirement. Fury's been talking retirement for 5 or 6 years. I think that's the furthest thing from his mind at this point. He knows he's 32, and he might have. I think he said he wanted to fight five more years. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to make it that long, but things might get a little tougher from now on. So we'll see how it goes. But you're right. If he's happy that people now think he's easier to beat, or something like that, that's good. But then again, he's 32 and he's had 60 fights. So there's a guy I respect greatly who's a trainer who said that he believes that the next so many fights of not the Golovkin fight so much, but after that, football or not, whoever he fights next, Canelo fights next, Charlo or whoever, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be no easy walks in the park for him like he's had. Yeah, he's not that much better than anybody else, and he could lose a couple of more times, he said. And can he even beat Bivol in a rematch? That's a really good question. So, whatever, the luster of Canelo, I don't know. It's always been kind of polarizing. It was, complicated, but he's done pretty well. So he's still in the driver's seat.
Well, let's skip ahead to this weekend, because we have the fight we've all been waiting for: Otto Wallin versus Riddell Booker. Oh, sorry about that. Let's look
Only
at the
you
showtime.
waiting for that one, Frank.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that. Well, I love the name. Bobby Rydell's son. But we're looking at, well, first of all, this is what we were talking about, the WBA, the regular belts.
Please.
Okay, Erislandy Lara against Gary O'Sullivan, and I'm sorry, I'm the mouth here. I don't know who the heck is Gary O'Sullivan. Now, I'm going to say that because I'm not supposed to know. Hopefully, somebody knows. Anyway, we'll bypass that real quick. Oh, if someone can tell me who Gary O'Sullivan is, please do. John, this is your bailiwick.
He's not a journeyman, but I can't even tell you his record. I'm cheating here. I'm looking to see. He's been around for years and stretch it out, as they would say. I think he's ranked. Let's see, where is he ranked? If I even see him here in Boxing Rec, I don't even see him. So Lara's getting up there. He's getting long on the tooth too, but he's a good fighter. He's going to win. O'Sullivan, I think he fought for the title before, if I remember correctly. He's going to have to land something big to win, and you just don't see it. It's kind of it's just a build-up fight before the big one that we all want to see, the grudge match, the bombers, Romero and Davis, or Davis and Romero, I should say. Right. So it's not going to be a fight. It's probably going to be pretty boring. Lara's going to outbox him like he does. That's just Lara. That's how he fights. He's been more of a slugger lately, though. But O'Sullivan, he's a contender, but where he's ranked, I can't even tell you, and that's sad. Because I wrote an article about Romero, but I didn't even. We've got to
look it up. Right.
I know he's pretty old. I know O'Sullivan must be in his late 30s, I believe, and he here he is. Yeah, 31-4. So he doesn't have a bad record, but I believe he fought Munguia and got stopped. So whenever he moves up, he got stopped and won by David Lemieux. So he's the guy that moves up. He fights middle of the rotors and wins, but then when he fights top guys like Chris Eubank Jr., and that was 7 years ago, he gets stopped. So he gets stopped by all the big guys. So Lara might just stop him, even an older. Let's see who's older. 37. Lara is, doesn't say how old he is, but he's got maybe 37, 38. He's got 16 knockouts. Yeah. He might get a stoppage against O'Sullivan.
Okay, so Charles, the point I was making, because John mentioned the regular belts and the silver belts and all that stuff. We're looking at now Tank Davis and Romero. Is this something that we're gonna? Okay, this will be a sluggish delight, I think. But again, what belt is this for? And was that even? Do we care? What do you see in this fight?
Well, I mean, you think Romero is coming off and he's a tough dude and he can punch and he's saying what he's going to do early. And I think he knows that that's probably the best chance he has. Hopefully Tank Davis starts slow and he can get a shot in. But, Tank Davis is one thing is he's learned as he's grown and matured in the last couple of fights, right? When he felt falling behind. But I think he's really starting to amp up, trying to become his own man. And I think, so what happened, how he slowly but surely came on Santa Cruz, right? And then he continued to move on. And, you had, was it Cruz, Pitbull? He was supposed to hurt, but had some things going on that too. But he says he's healthy now and he wants to start to get that out the way. So I think Tank Davis is like, he's ready to take the training wheels off. And he's been saying that, which is why I think he's ready to make a jump. And I think he's going to handle his business. He's going to be cautious. I think Romero is going to look for a big shot, probably make some mistakes because he's going to be overzealous because that's who he is. He's really kind of high energy, but he takes shots. And, that old Mayweather adage, when you make a mistake, I'll punish you. I think that's what we're going to see from Davis. I don't see it lasting that long, but I think Davis is getting ready because he's done something that when he's not been when he was with Floyd before, that he really hasn't really done too much saying. He's like, yeah, I will, but now he's calling him out. When he called out Devin Haney, he said, when you win, bring it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about.
Well, but John, this is one of those guys where Romero, that this is the soup we've been getting in the last few weeks, months, this is right for something that we're not expecting. Because we're looking at Romero's records at 14-0, 13-1, something like that.
14-0, 12
knockouts. Yeah, right. We're looking at somebody that hasn't had a lot of experience, but with the experience he's had, he's done well with it. Now, is he ready for this? And is Tank Davis the seasoned fighter? We're not used to saying that he is the more experienced fighter. So, what's the recipe for disaster here for either one of them?
Well, Tank will have to underestimate him and run into a shot. That's basically all I see. Romero punches hard, but big fight experience. I mean, Tank's got a big edge in it. Romero is a very flamboyant guy. When I wrote the article, I had a lot of fun because I was saying, is he confident or is he arrogant? What's the difference? And I brought up, because as we know, I get paid every time I mention his name. I remembered something that Mr. Ward told me in Oakland, because I asked him years ago. He was fighting in Southern California, and Edwin Rodriguez. He was coming back to fight. And Rodriguez was talking about he was going to knock Andre Ward out. I'm like, you think you're really going to knock him out? Are you serious, man? Right. And even Andre was like, did he really say that? So I said, what do you think when a fighter says that? What goes through your mind? And he said, I always wonder, is he trying to convince himself or his team? So you wonder where the confidence really is. Is it that deep, in other words? I think Romero, from what I watched yesterday, he's a pretty confident guy for a guy who's only had 14 fights. He's flamboyant as hell, and his verbal ability, he's pretty flexible. I'll give him that. But Tank has got more tools. I mean, let's be real. Tank. See, the thing, Tank is and maybe it's because Floyd was bringing him along slowly or whatever you want to say. And I know he was concerned because I read this Floyd I'm speaking of, that Tank wasn't professional enough and he was doing some things out of the ring that was bad. And yeah, he was. But he seems to have grown up. He's a father now. He wants to run his own show. You can't blame him blame him there. And then the Isaac Cruz fight that Charles mentioned, he hurt his hand really bad in that fight early, and he had to fight basically with one hand like Gary Russell did, and he had to box more than he usually does, and he did it. And I felt like I was the only one who was impressed. Everyone, oh, it's disappointing. He didn't knock the Pitbull out. Pitbull is tough. I mean, geez. So I was impressed by that victory. So I think if anything, that helped Tank. Saturday he's going to be the same Tank Saturday night that he usually is. I think he's going to be aggressive but smart about it, and he's not going to go out there looking for the knockout. That's what Romero's going to do. And as Charles said, Romero goes swinging big shots. Romero will miss, Tank will counter him, and then we'll see if he can take it. So this one could go quick. I mean, if Tank lands, Romero's telling me he punches harder than Tank. Well, okay, we'll see about that, but I think Tank takes care of business too pretty early as well. But as I always do, and remember, Franks, it's not wishy-washy, because you made a point when you said there's been things where we were so sure are going to happen and the opposite happens. Romero, I think Romero, remember we were talking about puncher's chance? He's got that. But as far as a talent and all that, no. So this is your classic puncher's guy who's got a puncher's chance. If he lands something big, runs Tank into something, doesn't mean he's going to hurt Tank, though. I haven't even seen Tank. I guess he got wobbled against Pitbull, but he's never been down in his whole career. So there's always that chance, but Tank's going to take care of business.
Well, see, but Charles, this brings up a point of, if there is no chance, even though there's a chance, why do we have this fight?
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good propaganda. It's good marketing, because he talks a great game. The media loves people that talk. He can fight. We're not saying that he's horrible. It's just a different level. I mean, a lot of good fighters, but the difference between good and great. He talks a lot. 14 fights. He's been impressive in the fights, but he has not stepped into the next level. So he deserves a shot. So he's getting a shot. So now what does he do with it? So until we see what happens on that level, it's intriguing. And the media is bored as hell. Some of the old geezers, I'm gonna call y'all out. You know what I'm talking about. Call me what you want to. You are calling out because you're looking for something that you want to be right. It just goes south, right? So you throw something out. Well, we've been watching. There's a pattern. You can't do that. This ain't the stock market, bro. Come on, man. This ain't horse racing either. This is one individual fight. And granted, not the moon, the moon is rising in the 9th house and all that other bull, age of Aquarius. Dude, it is what it is. It is a straight up fight. Looking at it, and you got to look at it as an individual fight and quit looking at patterns. What we've seen a lot of upsets, okay, it's based on people not being prepared or other guy being ready. Not about the trends in the market, seems like we're going, man, no, stop.
I'm not even sure where to go from these. The animals or Billy Davis Jr. or Marilyn McCoo. I'm not sure which way to go with that, but that's all right. The thing that I think is interesting about this fight and how it sets up the weekend and the next few weekends is that we are gradually getting back to fights of significance, even though I don't know that there's a fighter of significance in this one. Let's go that way. I don't know if this is going to be a significant fight, but there's a fighter of significance in this fight. Okay, so we'll get the prediction business out of the way here in a little bit, but as we move forward the next few days, the next few weeks, we have, let's just do this as a quick topical thing. All right, Haney and Kambosos, John, yay or nay? Which one? And we'll just kind of build to do that.
Which one wins?
Which one wins?
Okay, Haney is better in my view. He's a better fighter. Better fighter doesn't always win. Kambosos has all the edge as far as his home crowd, and probably, as we know, because we've seen it already in Australia, the judges. I think Haney's going to win. I do. I think he's going to win. He'll win like a split decision. That's what I'm thinking today. Now, when we get to do the real prediction, I might change my mind. Charles will go, he's turning one of those old geezers. But my gut is telling me that, not my gut. Don't want to go with that. My gut was wrong a few weeks ago. I just think that Haney is primed for this moment. I do. He doesn't have his dad, which is a bummer. You know, his dad didn't get to go to Australia because of a 30-year conviction, and they won't let him. Which is that. It's like, come on, man. He's got Judas' dad is training him, and they've known each other for years, so it should be fine. But I don't know. I didn't think Kambosos was going to beat Lopez, and he did. But I'm going to say Haney.
Okay. All right. Then let's go to. Let's see. We'll put Charles on the spot. Featherweights: Stephen Fulton and Daniel Roman.
Ooh. Oh my God. I'm gonna go with Fulton. I'm gonna tell you why. Fulton won a fight he believed in. No one really thought he was gonna win, right? And when you overcome that, then unless a guy is just totally superior than you, then you kind of roll with it. But I think he is feeling pretty good, and it was an impressive fight. So I'm gonna go with Fulton. I just like his attitude, and he's ready, coming forward. So the opponent is going to have to really come strong, which I think he can. But I like Fulton's attitude, where he really believes that he deserves to be on that level.
Okay. All right. Then, John, let's close it with this one. The Monster against Donaire.
The Monster. Enough said. The Monster.
But you got a whole other 5 minutes. Okay, never mind. All right. So, all right. Well, let's cover a little bit further then. Okay, because as we're talking about the regulars and the interims and all that stuff, here's a name that just jumped into my line of sight here that I didn't even know was going to happen. On June 11th, we have Daniel Dubois coming back for the regular heavyweight title against Trevor Bryan. Now, first of all, who the hell's Trevor Bryan? No, just kidding. But there is another belt here that's in play. Now, John, you've already mentioned your disdain for that. So, Charles, we're going to go to this. And this is the Charles Farmer School of Boxing Reform. Should we even list these as title fights? Should these even be getting recognition for what it is? Or is it just, hey, this could be a good fight as an eliminator of the next guy moving up? Again, we might make too much of a big deal about belts. This could be a good fight. But is this something that we should be saying, oh, by the way, as we're promoting this is for the regular heavyweight title?
You can't say that because they're trying to say that it deserves that respect for the belt. Okay, you can say that. But as a person that's promoting, or as a media person that really understands what's going on, you might say that you said that's eliminated, because everybody knows what the real deal is. You watch any of the fights, particularly on the heavyweight level, we know who the true players are. So it's great to say, if you really want to watch maybe up and coming or somebody that might have another shot, you can say what you want to about the regular belt, which is cool. But let's be honest about it. We know who the king is until he decides to retire.
And when we see, John, since you've written about this, when we see this regular belt thing, do we automatically always say, what a load of malarkey? Or is it, there's going to be a good fight?
Well, I do. I hate that the WBA does this. WBA does this. I mean, that's what Tank has, the WBA lightweight regular title. It's like, come on, get out of here, man. You know, give me a break. It's just, they said they were going to eliminate these. Well, they said they were going to eliminate the interim belts. Right. But Romero is the interim WBA
regular
like
thing.
Hey, man, didn't you say you were going to eliminate those nefarious, garbagey belts? So I think it cheapens the sport. I do. I have a really strong view on this, as you guys know, and I have fun ripping them to shreds in my articles just because I can. Nobody cares. I do. But the WBA, remember the I don't know, they're what the World Boxing a-holes, that's what I refer to them as.
Careful.
Some of my articles.
There may be women and children watching this.
Yeah, they just think it's money. They just think the minute you attach a title to somebody, it's more money. They don't see that really all they're doing is they're cheapening everything and making it a joke. And it's very frustrating. I like Daniel Dubois, back to him. He's a good fighter. He's a good young fighter. He fought Joe Joyce and Joe Joyce beat him up. It was a very close fight and hurt his eye, and he stopped. And this is just a Frank Warren setup here. Frank Warren had his eyes on Trevor Bryan for a while. Trevor's undefeated, right? 22-0. But it's the WBA again. So you can't trust whatever they're throwing out there. If you want to watch Daniel Dubois because you like him, like me, I've been watching him since he started. Okay, but this is just really, this is like you said, Frank. You got it right this time. It's an eliminator. That's all.
Charles, is it the equivalent of next NBA season? They start the season, and I'm not even going to remember who did it. They raise the banner and they pass out rings for the team that won the first playoff playing game. It's like you're trying to celebrate something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that, but I mean, if Dubois is that good and he's a young guy, maybe it's worth mentioning, right? But you got to realize that it's nowhere near to being considered a top boxing match because we know who the true players are. So you have to put it in context, even though it's for a title. You have to put it in context because we know what the wars are like until we see this young man in a war, even his opponent that's undefeated as well. Until they're really truly tested, you can't really give them the accolades that they are trying to do so in the WBA.
But okay, I guess I'll get off this. Let's leave it at that because I don't think there's a way we're going to be able to say this is something that's worth the energy of being a belt, but it'll still be a good fight.
It could be a good fight. Yeah, Trevor Bryan is a big guy and he hits hard, so it could still be, yeah. So forget all the malarkey about belts and all that and just enjoy the fight.
There you go.
Good. Okay. All right. So what do we have this weekend? Charles, who ends up on top?
Oh, wow. I mean, like you said, I think it's Tank Davis all day. I think Tank Davis is, like John said before, I think he's going to be more patient. Romero's trying to make a name. He's trying to shock the world. He's trying to, trying to pull an Ali off. Like, I told you about it. I mean, but we haven't seen anything that shows that he's ready for that. He does talk a lot, but I think one Tank Davis has showed you is he's matured a lot. He's not that young, rash kid that just goes in there with his head down and just waits to knock the hell out you. He's a lot more seasoned. What he did against Pitbull shows that. So with that being said, I think his experience alone is going to win him the fight in a very impressive fashion.
Okay. John, is this something where he's going to make the others in the division stand up and go, this is really the guy we got to worry about? Or it's like, there he is just out there again?
I think they're worried about him anyway, to be honest. I heard that him and Ryan Garcia are mouthing off against each other again, so they want that fight. He wins, Ryan Garcia said fine. So they've already tentatively agreed, not that that necessarily means anything, but that would be really fun to see that fight, Ryan Garcia and Tank. Yeah, Tank wins. Tank's remember I said earlier, is the better fighter. Doesn't always win, but he's gonna win. He's better. He's matured, I believe. The break with Floyd, this is his last fight, is a very good one. It's amiable. There's no hard feelings. Floyd loves the kid. He said like a son, and that's good. And he's learned a lot. Floyd, I don't think Floyd Mayweather did a bad job of handling him. He just tried to tell everybody, look, we don't have to be in such a big hurry. He's won whatever the regular titles, whatever, officially at least a couple of titles, which ain't bad. He's 26-0 with 24 knockouts.
Right.
His resume is a little thinner. He hasn't really fought a name that you go, ooh. But he's fought some good fighters. He knocked him out, and there's this one that we really like who moved up that he starched in 6 that we'll never forget, Mr. Santa Cruz. So Tank is a tank. Tank is definitely the real guy, and he'll win by stoppage.
Okay, well then I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to agree with you guys. So there's no reason to think it's going to be any different. But usually when we say that, that's what ends up being different. So we'll see how it plays out. All right.
You knew Charles was going to go, oh, man. It's always got to be a different one in the crowd.
No, I mean, it should go like you're saying. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. But again, we've said that enough that, yeah. But again, this is the thing of you get in the ring, you never know what could happen. So get ready for your...
It's always is.
Get ready for your cash run rich strike. Why we didn't put those two together, I don't know. But anyway, that's where we're at. And look, it's interesting how it's going to play out because I think that it solidifies what Tank's going to do to the rest of the division in the upcoming months. So there we go. All right. Thanks again, folks. It's been fun. We always love talking boxing on Real Boxing Talk, because otherwise we have to rename the show. Thanks.